Wow, I was not expecting that. But thank you. It is such an honor to be here with all of you. Now, unless you have memorized the books of the Bible, can you hear me? Okay, great. Unless you've memorized the books of the Bible, there is a possibility that you've never even heard of Titus and Philemon, okay? There's a couple things that are similar about them. First of all, they were both written by the Apostle Paul. Secondly, I just blanked. No. They were both letters written to men instead of to the churches. And as Emily just said, they're both pretty short, okay? These two books are sandwiched in between 2 Timothy and the book of Hebrews in the New Testament. Now, historians believe that Philemon was written about 62 AD and Titus between 64 and 66 AD. Both books give a beautiful illustration, wow, of the incredible mercy and grace of our Lord Jesus Christ. Titus was a co-worker with Paul when Paul went to Crete and established some churches. Now let me tell you a little bit about Crete. Crete was not an easy place to start churches. In ancient times, the island of Crete was known for its immorality, okay? The historian Polybius, I think that's how we say his name, wrote that it was almost impossible to find personal conduct more treacherous or public policy more unjust than in Crete. Wow, yeah. Cicero wrote, moral principles are so divergent that the Cretans actually consider highway robbery honorable. Wow. So Paul and Titus and others are there opening churches by the grace of God who sees the hearts of people who need him. So Paul left Titus in charge to continue the work of establishing these baby churches by making sure that they stuck to the truths of Christ's teaching and did not get misled by false teachers, because apparently there were quite a few false teachers there. Here's some of the key themes that you're going to see in the book of Titus. The gospel, by its nature, produces godliness in the lives of believers. It is vitally important. And I just have to say this. I just thank God for New Life Church, because this next point is so important to our church. It is vitally important to have godly men serving as elders and pastors who follow and who live by the truths of scriptures. And we are blessed. We are blessed. Number 3, the way that we live matters. Our lives can impact others and draw them to Christ. That's one reason why the good works that Christ has planned for us, that we do those. It's an important place, or an important place in the lives of believers to do those good works. And the last thing is that the gospel is the basis for Christian ethics. Enjoy this book of Titus as you discover some life-giving jewels to live by. Now, the letter to Philemon was written by Paul, but Timothy also helped. Philemon was a wealthy Christian who lived in the city of Colossae, which was about 100 miles away from Ephesus. And historians believe that while Paul was ministering for 3 years in Ephesus, Philemon went to Ephesus, he heard the gospel, he came to Christ, to know Christ. And when he, back in Colossae, he consistently opened his home to the community of believers to meet there. He also had a bondservant named Onesimus. Now, under Roman law, a bondservant was considered the owner's personal property. There was no, for life, there was no escape. You were the personal property of your owner. And the punishment, if a bondservant ran away or if he stole, was very severe, and it could even be death. It depended on the owner. At some point, Onesimus fled to Rome. He may have stolen money or property from Philemon, but we do know that he was living as a fugitive in the largest city in the Roman Empire, just hoping to escape detection. But God, God in his greatness wanted more for Onesimus' life. Didn't want him living a life of fear and guilt. So in God's sovereignty, who do you think Onesimus runs into in Rome? Paul, okay? And Paul's like, we don't know for sure if Paul knew Onesimus from Philemon's house, but Paul knows that Onesimus should not be in Rome without Philemon. And so Paul builds that relationship with Onesimus, leads him to Christ. And Onesimus, it's just such a beautiful picture. He becomes a great help to Paul, who is in prison. And you know what? You do not want to miss the rest of the story.